Hey everybody, it's City Councilmember Augie Tulba. September 30th is the deadline to file your homeowner's exemption. So, to learn more about that, we talked with the Budget Finance Director, Andy Kawano, and Real Estate Property Division Chief, Stephen Takara. So, who pays property tax and how much is collected annually by the city?
But typically it's the taxpayer, meaning the property owner. As far as collections annually, so it depends upon three things: your assessed value, your classification, which dictates your rate, and as well as your value. So as your value and your classification, that kind of influences what you pay or the taxpayer pays. This current fiscal year of 23, I think the total projected collections is about $1.5 billion.
Yeah, the real property taxes make up about 80% of the city's general fund. And the general fund is the main, call it the main operating fund of the city. And it's sliced up like pie slices to cover different things. But what's really interesting is that when you add debt service with pension, with health benefits, with post-retirement benefits, you almost come out to 40% of the pie already taken. And then when you add public safety, because public safety is very important, so that's police, fire, water safety, that's like over 60% of the entire budget. So there's like 35% left for everything else that the city does.
Okay, let's talk about exemptions. Available to property owners, or how do they apply for these exemptions, and what documentation do they need to provide to the city?
So when we talk about real property exemptions, a lot of times it's referred to as tax relief or relief from or reduction in your assessed value, or which would be your net taxable. So the most simple, most common is your home exemption, right? So owner occupant that resides and you're on title, highly likely you're entitled or will be granted a home exemption. So right now the current home exemption for those 64 and below is 100,000, and 65 and above is 140. That's I guess the exemption, the most common exemption that would reduce or exempt that portion of your real property tax obligation. Associated with home exemption, there's some sight, hearing impaired, disability. There's total disabled veterans. Those are associated with home ownership. There's other exemptions as far as nonprofit or charitable, low-income housing. So there's a whole gamut. It gets pretty complicated, but there's about 30 different programs. We're trying to educate the real property tax owner or property owner to file their home exemption by September 30th deadline. And that's a one-time filing. As far as the documentation, it depends on the exemption program that you're applying for. So the home exemption is basically a one-pager. Fill it out, give a copy of your driver's license. We may ask for some other stuff, but basically it depends upon what program you're applying for.
If there's a change in land ownership, what steps do the new property owner need to take to ensure the exemptions remain in place?
Well, if there's a name change
Right.
on title, to retain or to be granted exemption, it's safe for me to say to just reapply.
Okay, last question. If property owners have questions about their property tax payments and possible exemptions, who should they contact?
Okay. When it comes to assessment, your value, your classification, exemptions, things of that nature, feel free to call our division, which is 808-768-3799. And then again, website's available, realpropertyhonolulu.com. So if you're aggrieved or you don't agree with your assessment, your value too high, your classification is incorrect, you got denied an exemption, or you feel there's lack of uniformity or illegality in the assessment or appraisal process, violation of constitutional rights and stuff like that, there's 4 grounds that you can appeal.
I appreciate you guys' time. I know this is helpful for a lot of you who own homes, and I think it's important that we all understand how this thing works, so that not only we can continue to make the city function, but you understand how much value you bring to the city. So Thank you guys so much. Steve.
Right on.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
Director Kawano.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for watching.